Every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix of Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as a Mad Painter. And today, our special guest is Honovi Strongdeer. And Honovi is a new thought leader, ambassador for ET Contact, artist and writer. She helps people get clear on their soul blueprint and purpose for being here at this transformational point in history, supporting shifts into multidimensional awareness, extraterrestrial contact, and helping to raise the consciousness of the planet. As a light language channel, Honovi's transmissions are assisting as a bridge for people to move into heart awareness. As a starseed and sound healer, Honovi is working one-to-one and with groups to ground the new earth frequencies. During 2013, she lived in China studying the ancient art of Qigong, energy healing, and paranormal ability, eventually becoming a certified teacher with the Big Harmonious family. She is the founder of Chai with the Cosmos, a platform for spiritual growth and multidimensional awareness. As a medicine woman, presently Honovi lives in the Sacred Valley of Peru, where she facilitates ceremonies with Mother Ayahuasca, sharing messages from our star families. She has a number of websites, chaiwiththecosmos.com, her Facebook and Instagram connections. Go to aquarianradio.com, and you can see a page there with some beautiful photos of Honovi. Before I bring on Honovi, I'd like to see if Dr. Lessin is there. Are you there?
Yes, I'm
Sasha.
here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes,
Great. Yeah, so you brought Honovi to us. How did you meet her? Do you remember?
Oh, of course I remember. I met Honovi. Hi, I met you at the desert.
Contact in the desert.
But you know what I realized once I met you, Honovi, is that you're one of the people that can bypass the misogynistic matrix that we're bound in. That you and the other experiencers are disclosure of what's beyond this matrix of thought that has trapped us and prevented us from accessing our cohesive field as spiritual beings. And I know I got it when I looked in your eyes that you're one of the ambassadors that's here to help us do it. And so I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, brother, so much.
Yeah, welcome to our show. So, Honovi, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our listening audience and tell everybody about who you are and what you do and your walk in the world. And we'll listen to you for about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll ask you questions. So take it away, Honovi.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's really a great honor for me to be able to really share from my heart. And as brother was saying, we connected at Contact in the desert. It was funny. I actually kept running into all of the speakers just by synchronicity at Contact in the desert. And we just got talking about some of the things that I'm sharing with people and some of the projects that I'm working on. So a little bit about myself. There's many different dimensions to me. I find it a little bit challenging to describe one thing I do because, I'm doing many things at once. So you could say I'm a transformational coach. I'm also a medicine woman. In the past, I was teaching Qigong, and I was living in China, where I was studying healing and human potential. I really liked how my teacher would call it human potential and not paranormal ability because, as a modern society, we have sometimes created these labels to put things into context, but they can sometimes remove these abilities from outside of ourselves as though they are something miraculous. But when we were studying in China, we were just taught that these abilities like healing and, astral travel and talking to higher dimensional beings, it's all just a part of our human potential that is available to each person here on this planet. So I was quite fortunate because my family is actually from India, although most people think I am from Peru or Dubai or Spain or all these different places. So I really feel like I am a citizen of the world, I don't feel like I belong to any one place. And I think this is also a part of the New Earth frequency. Many of my generation is feeling like they are suffocating or being confined by these borders that we are drawing. And the way I see it is that, we are here in this human incarnation to honor the culture that we incarnated into, but at the same time to also honor our multidimensional nature, our infinite nature. So when I was a young girl, because I had this Indian background, I was well-versed in many spiritual ideas. So for me, growing up, it was not uncommon to talk about reincarnation and things like this. And it was a little bit confusing because my family is from India, but I was actually growing up in the UK. And of course, there are completely different cultures. So I had a little bit of an identity crisis as I was growing up. But years later, as I got older, I realized that I could take the best from both paradigms, from the Western paradigm and the Eastern paradigm, and create something beautiful with it. So for many years, I was always interested in the spiritual path. But what I realized was there was a lot of dogma that was inherent within the culture that I was being brought up in. So I kind of rebelled against it, as young people do. And I kind of forgot about it for a time until around 2010 is when the ET contact began. But at the time, I did not know that it was ET contact. I was just having, I started to spontaneously leave my body one night. It was like, it was explained to me later on that my team of guides had activated what some people call my Kundalini energy, which allowed me to kind of access altered states of consciousness and my multidimensional remembering and all this kind of thing. But of course, at the time, I was completely freaking out. And I thought I was dying, I was like, what's happening to me? Did not really understand what was going on at all. But I was lucky because my partner at the time, he was an astral projection teacher. And he explained to me what was happening, and it was natural. So from there, I started to read up a lot about different things, And everything came to a head last year in 2016 when I started to work with plant medicine. I had such a huge opening with the plant medicine. I started to channel these extraterrestrial beings whilst I was in the ceremony, which kind of freaked some people out because they're speaking a different language. Some people call it star language or light language. It's like a language from the heart. It's consisting of many different sounds and frequencies. And the first message that came through, they were speaking in this other language, but also in English. They said, we are from Sirius. We are returning. The hybrid children are coming. And the room kind of fell silent. And I was asked to leave the circle because the shaman holding the space, he did not understand, and he had a lot of fear in his heart. And he has been conditioned to think that whenever someone is channeling another entity in the ceremonies, that it's something bad and it must be stopped. So it was a little bit crazy, but my guides were with me throughout, and they told me to forgive him. And they said that he was reflective of the mass consciousness, that many people would be resisting this information and this frequency, which kind of brings me up to this point now where I recently relocated to Peru and started working more with the plant teachers. I was shown in ceremonies that I have worked with the plants before in other lifetimes, which is why I had such a big awakening and opening, and why it felt so natural to me.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Also, with the combination of Banisteriopsis, copy, and Dicotra viridis, yahe, or ayahuasca, and it's just like truly, what I found is people.
Oh, brother, I cannot hear you so well.
Oh. Okay. Oh well.
There you go. That's better.
Mm-hmm, that's better.
Oh yes. I was just saying that I worked also extensively with, particularly the plant also, and it's very, very interesting. What I've observed is each person goes to their particular reading in the Akashic records, goes to wherever they're supposed to be getting, and I'm really excited to hear that you're basically ambassadoring from Sirius, because one of the person who I greatly respect is also, his name Stuart Swerdlow, is also an ambassador from the Syrian consciousness, and so I'm really excited. Please go on with your story.
Yeah, I was just blown away by it because, I never had any idea that I was connected with these beings from Sirius. Sometimes as star seeds, people who are slightly aware that they have lived in other civilizations, they have like their preferences, they have their favorites. I thought maybe I was connected with Pleiades or somewhere like that. That's like the most popular one. So when Sirius came out of my mouth, I was actually shocked, but it was very interesting because I was very present throughout the whole ceremony, because some people actually think that when you're channeling, you kind of step aside or something like this, but it's not necessarily the case. For me, I was fully present, and the shaman got a bit confused because he was talking to these guides, these ET beings who were talking to me, thinking that me, Honovi, that I was not there. And he was being quite rude. So I was saying to him, yeah, so I was saying, brother, because he came over and put his hands on my legs, and he said, Honovi, come back, And I said, brother, I did not go anywhere. I'm here, don't worry, I am here. And so that was very interesting kind of dynamic. But these beings told me that everyone who was in the ceremony, that they had already agreed on some level to participate and to hear these frequencies that are returning to Gaia. And so, this light language can be considered an ancient inner technology that time has forgotten. And it's returning now because, we are entering into these higher frequency states. Of course, I'm sure you're both aware and feeling that, as are the listeners. Many people, depending on their sensitivity, will be aware that each of us is going through incredible multidimensional shifts in consciousness right now.
Honovi, I had a similar experience. Let me say something, and then you can go back to you, Sasha. As I was attending a number of years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, the tantric rituals, and I would get into these high ecstatic orgasmic states, and I too would start to channel other entities. I was connected with the Anunnaki, but other beings would come through. I didn't go anywhere. I was there. I allowed them to speak through me and used my voice box, but I wasn't taken over or possessed. But people, they didn't kick me out because it was my house, but they weren't receptive. So I understand completely how you felt. Here you are with this incredible information coming through you, and there were just very few people that were ready to receive it. So have you tried that again with another group of people? Are they more receptive now?
Well, thank you for that question, sister. Basically, what I was shown by these beings was that I was being guided to drink the medicine on my own, which I didn't want to do. I was not ready. I was like, what? Are you crazy? I'm not going to do that, But they said that if I continued to go to public ceremonies, that it might cause some problems because of my sensitivity and the fact that I just go into this channeling mode and they come through and I start speaking language and all that kind of thing. So what happened after that was I did actually move to Peru around February and March of this year, and that ceremony happened around 2016 in October. And so when I came over to Peru, I had been in contact with a Peruvian shaman for quite some time. He's like my soul brother. And he said to me, you are welcome to stay with me at my healing center, and you can be yourself, and we can do ceremonies together. So I said, oh, brother, that's awesome. That's what I was looking for. So what happened was I did ceremonies with him, with the mother, Ayahuasca, and also grandfather, Huachuma. And it was interesting. At first, everything was okay, but unsurprisingly, even my shamanic friends got annoyed when I started to channel these frequencies because, we have to remember that these frequencies that come through now, they're very ancient, and many people have forgotten, including shaman. He's very wonderful shaman, actually, but he doesn't know what this is, light language, these frequencies. So he was saying that in his ceremonies, it wasn't so much him, but his partner, she was saying that they don't channel, they don't share, and it's not allowed. And I was kind of thinking to myself, thinking, okay, my guides told me this is going to happen. If I continue doing ceremonies with other people, there's going to be resistance to it. So eventually what happened just a few months ago, earlier this summer, I was guided to do ceremony on my own, which was one of the biggest breakthroughs and challenges that I've ever done, I think, because as you know, if you have worked with the mother, it's not to be taken lightly. It's very strong medicine for the spirit. But I know it's something that my spirit was, in effect, designed for and can handle. So my friend has a healing center here in a place called Lamay in the Sacred Valley of Peru. And so me and my partner went there. And I said to myself, I'm going to drink the medicine 3 times. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to do it. By the way, for anyone who is listening, I would not necessarily recommend to drink the medicine on your own unless, number 1, you get very specific guidance to do that. And 2, you have the confidence in your heart to do that. Because, it's not something to just, mess around with. So I
yes, wait. May
yes.
I add a 3, because I've facilitated a lot of people that until you know what the medicine does, you might need somebody to be with you so that you don't drown and throw up.
Exactly.
And they can look after you. And it takes a person that's ready to control their bodily function and not drown themselves before you even contemplate doing it alone. Right?
Exactly. But it's also important to remember that there are some spirits that are incarnate here at this time. Yes, there are very strong spirits who can handle that. But like I said, you have to really have that confidence in your heart. Feel, at the time when they told me that when they were encouraging me to drink, I was not ready. But then later, I felt more ready and I had more confidence in my heart. And of course, because I had done some group ceremonies before, that gave me a bit of a foundation too. So it's something that is very unique. I'm sure you've heard of different stories of how the medicine is affecting people in such unique ways. Like, I remember one ceremony, my buddy was sitting next to me, and nothing happened to him, I was like flying out my body with ETs and all kinds of stuff like this. And he was just, nothing happened to him. So it's very unpredictable how the medicine will affect your spirits. And, it's not for everyone. That's what I say. And some people have come to me and I've said to them, I don't think the medicine is for you, So, and then they've gone for someone or whatever. But what happened in that ceremony when I was drinking on my own was just, it was so phenomenal. I think the most mind-blowing thing about that was doing it on my own and facing my fears. Like, in these times that we are living in these transformational times, I feel as though we are all being called to face our demons, to face our fears, to embrace our shadow instead of just, flying towards the light and getting burnt by it like moths to a light. So they knew I was a bit scared, these guides, these Syrian beings, and they start to sing to me. They sing. One of the ways they communicate is through singing, which is quite funny. But it makes a lot of sense, actually, when you think about it, because these beings, I would say that they are somewhere between 9 to 12 dimensional. There's very high vibration. So their means of communication is a bit more abstract, to what we might be used to in our linear human physical incarnation. So, they even said to me at one point, they were saying, my ego was looking for their form, like what they looked like, their face. And suddenly they started to say, they said, we do not have a physical form. So you can look for it, but you will not necessarily find it. You will find whatever it is that you are believing in, meaning that many of us, we hold certain belief systems that create images of these beings, but they don't necessarily look like that. It's almost like they are conforming to each person's belief system.
Yes, exactly. Russell Brittinger's his book has a whole bunch of things about how the extraterrestrials, lots of different races of them, are able to read in your psyche what images would work for you to convey what they're trying to convey and make you feel at ease.
So, could you just repeat that last part? I'm having some difficulty actually hearing you on the...
So people see the extraterrestrials often have the ability to convey to the person who's interacting with them an image that the person feels safe with. And so one of my friends' wife sees the Virgin Mary while he sees an orb. And it's the same stimuli, but they're having different reactions to it.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I actually questioned these beings one time, and I said to them, how come I do not see any of the ascended masters when I'm meditating, or because I can connect with these beings outside of the plant ceremonies through meditation and relaxed states of consciousness. And they basically turned around and said, because the ascended masters, it's not something that is part of your belief system, which is true. It's not something that resonates with me, but I don't take that away from others, because I recognize there are infinite paths for everyone. And I also believe this is also a part of the new paradigm for us to be more inclusive of each other's beliefs, even if those beliefs are triggering us, or, we don't like what we hear. They're talking a lot about unity through diversity. They're saying that the frequency of unity consciousness is returning to Gaia. And they're encouraging many of us to put our egos, our differences aside, and to begin to work with others who share similar visions.
Wow, I'll sign up. I'm in this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're so welcome, brother.
So this is your primary way of contacting these extraterrestrials, is through the plant medicine. Have they contacted you at other times in other ways?
Yes, they have. The plant medicine, it is serving as a kind of catalyst. It's making it easier because these beings, like I said, they're from very high frequency, and sometimes my body feels a bit overwhelmed with their energy because I'm having to accommodate it. And so they gave me some guidance. They said, there's certain lifestyle adjustments you're being encouraged to make so that we can drop down our frequency to meet you and you can raise yours up. What happened in 2010 is they activated my Kundalini or my cosmic energy so that since 2010, my body is constantly vibrating with energy all the time. In the early days, it was quite overwhelming. I could not sleep at night and I would leave my body, and it was just pretty crazy. I mean, I was saying to my friend, we were laughing about it the other day. I said, if most people went through some of the experiences I went through, they could have gone a bit crazy, because our society does not cater for these big openings and awakenings. But I think because of my family, my upbringing, where I had a lot of spiritual grounding, and maybe also I had the right people around me at the time, it has allowed me to be grounded. I'm actually quite a grounded person, even though I'm having these other worldly experiences. And so what happened is, because I feel this energy in my body, it actually serves as a kind of conduit to connect me with these beings more easily. So what happens in the plant ceremonies, the vibrations, they increase. And at nighttime, I like I said earlier, I don't have to be in plant ceremony to connect with them, because sometimes I could be lying in my bed at night and I start to channel them, or they send me a vision. One time I was meditating, and a group of other beings, I don't think they were the same group, they started to connect with me and send me an image of what they looked like. They looked like some kind of a hybrid being with eyes that had slits that looked actually, like reptilian or snake-like, and their skin was blue. It was not a malevolent being, as far as I know. The feeling I got, it was very loving. So other ways they began to contact me initially was through dreams. And they told me that they are using dreams to kind of gauge how ready people are for, more contact. There's so many different ways that they are communicating now. And because the frequencies are increasing, the gap is becoming thinner, and it's becoming easier to just, I could be ironing if I'm doing something where I'm very present, and then I just start receiving light codes. Sometimes I see them, sometimes they just come out verbally, or I could be just, relaxing. I've even had it happen when I watched movies, because of course the medium of movies are so powerful, as you will both know. They are planting seeds within the collective consciousness. Movies like, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Arrival.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
and
we
when
did.
I was
That was
watching,
very powerful.
Yes, very powerful, right? When I was watching this movie, I started channeling in the theater. I had to really stop myself. I had to leave the theater and come, kind of center myself and come back, because I didn't want to disturb people. And my sister was elbowing me, saying, shut up. But these films and these different situations, they are kind of planting seeds and serving as a catalyst for me and many other people who are serving as ambassadors and conduits for these beings.
Okay, so the hypothesis that I have is, or the question is, are you a hybrid Syrian? Is that very close to you genetically? It just doesn't seem that ambassador chosen randomly, that you were, that events have been orchestrated as a plan that's all to set you up to be a teacher, to help us. Do I get you right?
Yes, that's correct, brother. I had a lot of resistance to it, though, as we all do, I felt a bit sorry for myself at one point, and I was like, well, why me? And why do I have to have these weird things happen? Which I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate to, people who are having these kinds of experiences. But yes, they told me that it was something that I had signed up to before I incarnated. And, I'm not the only one. There's nothing special about me, really. There's so many of us here, so many of these starseed templates, we heard the call. The call went out, that Gaia is in trouble, and that we need some assistance down here. We need some ground crew. So of course, many of us, we say, okay, let's do it. Let's sign up. But of course, we forget all of that. We fall into this amnesiac soup. And for a long time, I was in denial and I was resisting my path. I didn't want these beings to contact me. And even now, I will be honest, some days I have bad days like anyone. Some days I'm just like, why can't I just have normal life? But then I think to myself, what is normal really? Maybe normal is something boring. So I've made peace more with my path and stepping out. But it has been very challenging, especially because when I was a young child, I went through domestic violence. It was very frightening environment for me. I think a lot of these people we call star seeds or wanderers, they are signing up for very difficult human incarnations. I feel one of the reasons is because as we are going through these life challenges, we are actually clearing them collectively for our brothers and sisters too. And so because of the environment I grew up in, I used to hide in cupboards from my abuser, and because it got that bad. And so hiding actually became a theme in my life as I grew into an adult. I did not want to be the center of attention. I did not want, to be speaking in front of big groups of people and this kind of thing. But of course, it is part of my path. And the way I made peace with that was I focused more on being of service to others and validating other people's experiences and letting them know they're not alone, and less on what other people would think about me.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Janet went through very, very similar sequence of experiences.
Oh, yeah, I can really relate. I had an abusive childhood, and to me, that seemed to wake me up to higher abilities. I was able to overcome a lot of difficulties, like you said, and I cleared that energy for myself. And, yeah, I at one point, I tried to make sense of it all. I met Sasha, Dr. Lesson. He's a hypnotherapist. We would go back into all these different traumas that I had as a child, and even through my adulthood. Since I started out with abusive parenting people in adult roles, I ended up marrying an abusive person, and then I went into other abusive relationships, and I realized that the common thread was me. So wherever I went, there I was, and so I had to really dig deep and find out what was going on, that I kept recreating it. But during this whole period, I ended up connecting with my guides. I had several near-death experiences as a result of trauma. And when I was out of body, I connected with my guides who were, once I was on the other side and talking to them, I realized they always are with me. And it was always my choice to come back. Sometimes I had to repair things in the body because I literally was killed, locked out of my body. I was dead. I could have stayed there. That was always an option. Do you want to stay here? I said, no, I got to go back. I stop what I'm doing. I agreed to do this. So I came back. But I like what you said, that somehow when you're doing the work, it's for everybody. Each person who does the work and clears it, resolves his conflict within themselves, is actually feeding the Akashic records or the morphogenic field or something, and somehow helping all humanity. So I like that. That's a nice way to put it.
Yes, thank you, Sister. I was just going to say thank you, Sister, for sharing your experience. I wasn't able to catch all of it, but I think I caught the gist of it. One of the things that I say to people is, in a real sense, our own life, our life does not belong to us, really. We all are belonging to each other, and it might not seem like it when other people are experiencing something, but on some level, we are also experiencing that, because of course we have our individual consciousness and also the collective consciousness. So it's pretty amazing when you are thinking about, because I do coaching with clients. I have clients in different parts of the world. And, there's some of the people that come to me are just so brave, some of the stories that they share. I just think to myself, wow, the human spirit is so resilient. And like we were just both sharing, that as we are going through these challenges, we are not only doing it for ourselves. It's there's a bigger picture that's emerging.
Yeah, that's right. You're changing the morphogenic field.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
it's also
Go ahead.
What kind of coherence each of you is bringing. When I think of what coherence Janet is bringing to us Earthlings and to Gaia is the sort of the best of the what Nimma from Nibiru has to give, which is huge compassion and great knowledge and alchemy, particularly of psychoactive plants. That was what Nimma was really interested in. And then we get you know, and you are interested in the plants that you've got your whatever you're bringing from that the Syrians want us to have, but the message that both of you have is the same message about unity consciousness and feeling oneness and not being bound into separation and competition.
Yes, some people are saying that there's only really one problem in our world, and that one problem is the illusion of separation. And of course, it's something that's very easy to talk about, as many things are. But, what really matters, I was talking to my partner about this today, and we were saying how spirituality itself, it's not really a philosophy, even though that's what we have been conditioned to think. And this is what creates a lot of conflict between people, because they have these different opinions about spirituality and God and all these things. But for me, spirituality is more a practice. It's an embodiment, and it's something for all of us to really remember, because it's through embodiment that, transformation occurs. It's through embodiment that we have the biggest impact on our brothers and sisters. So some people say to me, well, I'm trying to wake these people up, because they're asleep. And I'm like, you know what? Just let them sleep a bit longer. It's not our job to wake other people up. We didn't really come to do that as such, People will wake up when they are ready. Focus. If you want to be influential to others, embody what you are learning. Be the change that you want to see. And people will start to take notice of you. They will be like, who is that bright spark that's walking through the door? And at the same time, it will also trigger a lot of people too, which can be fun also. But the message from these beings is that many of us, myself included, I'm just a work in progress like anyone. We're having so many judgments about so many things. And they're really encouraging us to try and to drop some of those judgments. That it doesn't mean we don't use our discernment. Discernment is a different energy. When I say the word discernment, and when I say judgment, they sound different, right?
Yes,
but
indeed.
Even myself, I have certain strong preferences. I like certain movies. I like to be around certain people. But even those preferences, they can create limitations, and they're just encouraging us to really be more inclusive of everyone, even those people we are thinking are a pain in the ass.
Indeed.
In psychology, basically in psychology, we say the things that really bug you about other people or that you overly admire are just resonating in the underdeveloped parts of yourself. So if someone's pushy and it bugs you, that probably means you need to be a little bit more assertive.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what you really need to do is say, what is motivating the impulse, and you'll come down to needs that are good for the individual and for the people around them, because that's what deep needs are about. And so that's the best way, I think, to deal with separation, is to realize that whatever you think you ain't, you is.
I cannot agree more wholeheartedly. I think sometimes it can be easy to forget that especially when you are in the heat of the moment, in a confrontation, when the most common response is to be defensive and to justify your behavior if someone is saying something to you, instead of letting your defenses down and saying and actually seeing it as feedback. What I do when someone says something to me, what I do with my partner might actually disagree, but when someone points something out to me, like, oh, you're being selfish, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, instead of getting defensive, I try and ask myself, like, isn't that interesting? Like, that's the feedback that I'm getting from this other version of me, and is there any truth to what they're saying? And more often than not, there's probably some kind of truth, and then I can make some kind of amends, or make a change. But there's so many infinite ways to explore these spiritual ideas and principles, and it's finding one that is in resonance with you.
Yeah.
So, what did you want to say? What did you have to say, Sasha? Go ahead.
I just love this discussion. There's all these different ways of feeling our oneness with each other. And the interesting thing that you keep alluding to, and it's off stage, but I want to hear the sounds. What sounds do you hear? I want to hear you make the sounds. Or do you need musical instruments? This is just something you can hear. Can you make those sounds?
Honovi, are you there? Hello?
Uh-oh.
Okay, let's keep... You're still here. Okay. If you could hear us, say something.
Yes, I can hear you now, okay. But I could not hear Sasha when he was speaking.
Okay. Yeah, he's on a phone. Slow down and speak very clearly, honey. Yes, just slow down and speak very clearly.
I'm real interested in those sounds that you alluded to.
Yes.
Very interested to know if you recorded them, or whether you make them, or whether you do them in your ceremonies with other people.
Yes, I do them all the time. In fact, I can share some with you now, or a little bit later. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes these sounds, they're coming through in different times. Of course, I use them in ceremonies to clear the space. This star or light language, as I said earlier, is an ancient inner technology. It's so powerful that it has the ability to actually manipulate matter. Because what I noticed, what I didn't mention earlier in my story, was when I started to speak this galactic language, I actually started hearing it first in my dreams, but I had no context for what it was. So I didn't know that it was some galactic, language, or whatever you want to call it. What happened was I met a man in Glastonbury in the UK, and it was all synchronistic. He was channeling, he was doing the written form of light language and also the verbal. And he invited me to an exhibition where his friend was exhibiting these beautiful pieces of artwork about crop circles, which I was a bit crazy about back then. I was, like, wow, they're awesome. And suddenly he just came and sat next to me, and he said, oh, I'm going to do a bit of channeling now. And he started to channel this language, and I was blown away. I was like, what the hell is that? Because my spirit almost was like recognizing the frequencies, not necessarily the message, but just the feeling and frequency. And I was thinking, it sounds like something I've heard before, but I can't quite place it. And he's like, yeah, I call it light language, and other people call it other names, And so when I started to actually speak these frequencies in the ceremony, the second ceremony is when it happened. Second time I did ayahuasca. I had a context. I said to my friend who was sitting next to me, Ellen, I said, I think it's light language because I heard something similar. And what's amazing is she's one of my really good friends, Ellen. She was actually one of the organizers of the World UFOlogy Congress that I was speaking at in Spain recently. And when I was actually channeling these frequencies, she was seeing them. She also channels light language. But her main modality and expression is through art. She does a lot of artwork. But as far as I know, she can also do verbal, but it's not like her dominant expression. Whereas with me, it's a little bit of both. But my dominant expression of these frequencies is vocal, and my secondary is probably visual. So would you like me to share now?
Yes. Oh, please do. Yes.
Okay. I just need a moment to just settle down.
Okay. And while you're doing this, I just will tell you that Caroline Corey got all these people that saw something, and she just projected what they saw, what they drew them on the projector, and then asked them what they recalled, and they all knew the same concept. It's a universal.
Beautiful. Ayana kasu hai ema ayota I yoku nasa ema inate shuku asu hayina ena yutu yana eyoshu namayani ahaku ano inate suku ayo eyota suha ine yoku Imanoye asoyi a ionate a eonato ioeya sokuyo a hayi sono ama kanate shuyoni ayano kusa.
Wow.
What were you saying? Do you have any idea what you were saying?
Yes, I have an idea. I was just sharing that the frequency of the heart vibration is returning to Gaia and encouraging people to remember, but not to remember through their beliefs or through their minds, but to remember through their spirit and through their feeling. Because, light language is an ancient, non-linear, multi-dimensional form of communication. It is a language of the soul, and it is emitted through what we might call heart consciousness, which is returning to Gaia. So when I'm sharing these frequencies, they can stimulate a person's multidimensional memory or their heart or some kind of feeling. I've had very different reactions from different people. Some of them very dramatic. Some people, they don't feel anything and they think it sounds like gibberish. But normally the people that is thinking it sounds like gibberish, they're only listening with their minds. So these beings are not trying to say that the mind is something inferior. It's something beautiful too. But they have said to me before that there's too much emphasis on the thought processes and the mind, and people is encouraging to, create a leverage, a balance between the two and return to their hearts.
Yeah. While you were making the sounds, I went into a meditative state, and I saw the purple spiral going through my different
right.
chakras, center of the earth, and up through my crown, connecting both heaven and earth just right through me. It was a wonderful. The sounds were a great vehicle.
Yes, awesome. Sometimes I actually sing songs. I can actually sing you a song that came through one day. I was just I actually sang it at the conference, the World Ufology Conference. The song came to me as I was walking back from an evening of kirtan, which is devotional singing. And there were so many stars in the sky. I'm so fortunate to live here with the Andean mountains by my side. And then suddenly I just started to channel this song. And it's a mixture of English and light language. And I wondered if you want me to share just a little bit of it.
Would love for you to share it, but we're coming up on the break, and I'm afraid you'll start the song and the music will come. How about we'll hold that for after the break?
We can do it after.
Great.
Okay.
Yes, and there's the music. Okay. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Please mute your mic. See you in 5.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
You need some more than speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable CNN network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. At Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Hyla Cass, MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
This is the People's War. It is our...
Every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lesson and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix of Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lesson, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lesson, and our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as a Mad Painter. And today, our special guest is Honovi Strongdeer. And Honovi is a new thought leader, ambassador for ET Contact, artist and writer. She helps people get clear on their soul blueprint and purpose for being here at this transformational point in history, supporting shifts into multidimensional awareness, extraterrestrial contact, and helping to raise the consciousness of the planet. As a light language channel, Honovi's transmissions are assisting as a bridge for people to move into heart awareness. As a star seed and sound healer, Honovi is working one-to-one and with groups to ground the new earth frequencies. During 2013, she lived in China studying the ancient art of Qigong, energy healing, and paranormal ability, eventually becoming a certified teacher with the Big Harmonious family. She is the founder of Chai with the Cosmos, a platform for spiritual growth and multidimensional awareness. As a medicine woman, presently Honovi lives in the Sacred Valley of Peru, where she facilitates ceremonies with Mother Ayahuasca, sharing messages from our star families. She has a number of websites, chaiwiththecosmos.com, her Facebook and Instagram connections. Go to aquarianradio.com, and you can see a page there with some beautiful photos of Honovi. Before I bring on Honovi, I'd like to see if Dr. Lesson is there. Are you there?
Yes, I'm
Sasha.
here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes,
Great. Yeah, so you brought Honovi to us. How did you meet her? Do you remember?
Oh, of course I remember. I met Honovi. Hi, I met you at the desert.
Contact in the desert.
Joshua. But you know what I realized once I met you, Honovi, is that you're one of the people that can bypass the misogynistic matrix that we're bound in. That you and the other experiencers are disclosure of what's beyond this matrix of thought that has trapped us and prevented us from accessing our cohesive field as spiritual beings. And I know I got it when I looked in your eyes that you're one of the ambassadors that's here to help us do it. And so I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, brother, so much.
Yeah, welcome to our show. So, Honovi, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our listening audience and tell everybody about who you are and what you do and your walk in the world. And we'll listen to you for about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll ask you questions. So take it away, Honovi.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's really a great honor for me to be able to really share from my heart. And as brother was saying, we connected at Contact in the desert. It was funny. I actually kept running into all of the...
Give us the context in which you got the song. How did it come to you, and what's it mean?
Yes, so thank you very much. The song, it came to me one night as I was walking underneath a night sky that was strewn with so many stars, you know. It was just like you could just see an infinite amount of stars. There was no light pollution. You know, when you cannot even see your hand in front of your face, it's that dark and the whole sky is illuminated. And for me, looking at the stars has always been one of my favorite pastimes. In fact, I even have dreams at night where I'm just looking at the stars. I'm sure many people can relate. I'm sure we have many people who love to look at the stars. And the reason why we love to do that so much is because it is stirring some kind of inner knowing or memory inside of us that we are connected to these stars, that we have history with them. And, you know, we wonder why people have become so disconnected from the spiritual aspect, which is being ushered back into our paradigm. One of the reasons is because people simply cannot see the stars in the night sky. So why would they even think, you know, that there are beings and planets when they can hardly see anything up there? And so as I was walking, I was just feeling so full of gratitude and love. And then this song started to just come through. And I noticed when I am in elevated states of consciousness, these beings actually communicate through songs, which is very interesting because song and music, like mathematics and even science, it's like a universal language, and people can feel in the heart the resonance of the song. So I can share with you a little bit of this song. It's actually called Just Me and the Stars. Just me and the stars will always be together. Ayano kaiyo ea. Iye, iye, ayono ke hayo. Enayo taiye ao. Just me and the stars will always be together. You'll always be in my heart. Ie ayoko e hayo e nayo tai just me and the stars. That was a little bit.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
Wow.
Love it.
It's funny because
Janet
I've actually got. Thank you. I've actually got a lot of recordings because I've noticed now when they're going to come through, and so I get my recorder out if I'm near my laptop, and I've literally got quite a few different songs. They just seemingly are coming from nowhere. Like some people might say they're coming from my higher self or these beings or the cosmos. I don't know, but people like them, so I guess that's what's important.
I've seen time after time this one that I was doing. She was doing journey work. She'd come back with this beautiful music that she heard, but she couldn't quite make it come out. You know what I mean, Janet?
Oh yeah, I have songs all the time. I have one that's like I'm not going to do it because I can't quite translate it. Maybe I'll find a musician sometime and I can get it down into the tone. But it's full of drums as well, so it's got beats. So it's hard to,
Yes,
I normally right. It's a full orchestra a lot of times. Like even some instruments that I don't really quite recognize.
I normally actually sing the songs with a drum or something like that. That's what I did at the conference, which was quite fun. But yeah, I think what's happening also is these beings are really encouraging us as a collective to go outside of our preconceived notion of how communication will appear. They're actually trying to really encourage us to be more elastic in our thinking and in our consciousness, because we got very used to thinking that we're going to meet these beings, they're going to, just shake our hand like they do in Star Trek or something, hello, how's it going, or something like that. But it's not going to be like that. We are living in this amazing infinite universe with infinite expressions. So why are we so arrogant to think that, these beings have to communicate in our language, on our terms? It's not going to always be like that. So, they're encouraging us to really go beyond our comfort and what we perceive to be communication, because the communication with these beings is so diverse. It's infinite as many different stars there are in the sky. There's many different forms of communication.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, very, very true, very true. So, go ahead, Sasha. What were you going to say?
Well, what I get from the people I interview and stuff, and by just the numbers, is that the hybrid people among us on this Earthling population, especially from the genetic experiments that were going on in the late 70s and so forth, and they're over, and the hybrid people are here and they're helping us, and it's not like something that's coming down. We have the basis, and it's in people like you, Honovi, that basically we got to listen to our younger people who have got the message, who are open and aren't stuck in the old ways. And so that's why I'm so excited to have you on this program. You're just such a fresh approach, and so personal. The thing is, how does this come down on the ground? Did you really connect with a community? Did you make Ubuntu work? How does this come down in life?
Oh, can you just repeat the last part? Did I do what in work?
Were you able to create a functional community for yourself that people share in the way that you want the world to share?
I think at the moment it's in the beginning stages, because, I recently relocated here to Peru, but of course, not everyone is having the experiences that I'm having in the light language. There are some people, in fact, I did meet a friend of mine called Benjamin, who is also sharing these light languages. So it's kind of like what I'm seeing right now is these new earth communities are beginning to kind of crop up, and they're in their beginning stages, or maybe some of them are further along than other communities. But we're still finding each other, because what's happening with a lot of wanderers or starseeds, or people who are just, they might not identify as starseeds, but they're just having these big openings, is that there's still a lot of hiding and shame and self-doubt, because we have created a modern system, like I said earlier, that is not catering to these shifts in consciousness. And what I'm noticing with some people, I notice it a lot actually, because part of my job is to hold a container for people when I do coaching with them, and to see their highest potential, and to reflect it back to them, to show them what they cannot see for themselves. I'm meeting a lot of people who have potential to be guides, healers, teachers, but they might not be stepping out because they're still dominated by what other people are going to say, what people are going to think. But it's a natural process, because also I had to go through that too. And I think for me, I have found it a challenge to really find my own community, but I think it has been self-perpetuated, because what happens sometimes when we're having these experiences, we can really isolate ourselves. I went through this period where I completely was isolating myself from everyone, because I was feeling like they don't understand. And, I was perpetuating that, because, I was adding further energy to it. And then I had some insights where it was revealed to me that, yeah, there is many of us, and we're all kind of spread out across the earth. We might not all be in the same place, but we don't actually necessarily need to find other people who are going through exactly like every single thing, who are singing songs about stars and light language. What I learned was you can find common themes or threads that connect you with your brother and sister. So everyone wants to feel loved and give love. That's a common theme. Many people have dreams, right? There's many things that people want to accomplish. People want to be happy. And so when you start to connect with people on this base level, then I find that you can start to, grow an organic community that way, as opposed, because these beings, they have said not to focus too much on, elitism or exclusivity, because this happens a lot actually in spiritual movements. We all have something called spiritual ego, where we might feel superior, better, so, accommodating people are not this, because it doesn't do that. We people it doesn't on level of the not talking at them and saying it's like this, or you guys are stupid, or you guys are sleepy. I mean, how would you feel if someone saying you're a dumbass, or something like that? It's not very pleasant to hear, right? And your defensive goes up. So my advice, just creating community. Can you see? Really kind of I'm not sure if I can create somebody here.
Can you
hear Sasha?
actually bad. I'm not sure. It's being wonky today. That here. Okay, here. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
No, we're not. Just ready to get started. Are we?
I cannot hear you, so I'm going to finish up when okay. Finish up saying pretty to study where you're just out there and some sort of about how to get trail to or give a collaboration and the that you just start and being inclusive is not people are things the next.
Okay, we'll see if we can get this thing set back up.
Hello. Can
Hello,
you hear us?
You're back now. It was my internet.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
wonderful.
was your... Okay, Sasha.
I'll call Sasha back.
Okay. I have the phone here. So anyway, keep talking, Honovi. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very clear. That's wonderful. I'm not sure whether you guys could hear what I was talking about, but I was basically talking about create.
Go the other way. Okay, there he goes. So when he runs the other room, we get feedback. Okay, so go ahead. What were you saying before we were so rudely interrupted?
No problem. I'm talking about creating these New Earth communities and really beginning by starting from where you are. The thing is, your tribe of people who wanting to connect and resonate with you are not going to know that you are there unless you are being seen and saying to people, hey, I'm here and I'm creating this event or I'm opening this center. Like, for instance, when I first met Dr. Sasha at Contact in the Desert, we were speaking about this project where me and a group of friends, a group of my friends, they're creating a center and they have invited me to like a healing center basically in Peru to be a part of it, to contribute and share and create retreats, and it's pretty exciting. It's still in the beginning stages, but what happened was in 2014, I kept receiving a vision, and I believe now that this vision was being sent from these beings, and the vision was creating these New Earth communities, and that there would be many different centers around the world, like a international grid system almost, and that we were to do it in groups, and that we were to put our egos and our differences aside and actually begin to create a team of people that work together as dreamers, healers, facilitators, teachers, because many of us, we have remembrance from other civilizations where we operated as a kind of, you might call it a hive consciousness or a collective consciousness. And so I knew that part of my larger purpose in being here was always going to be about being with a group of people, a family, and that I was not meant to do this on my own. And in fact, we're not meant to do it on our own full stop, you know. It's just, I'm not saying that there's not value in teaching on your own, you know, that is something that I do, but I do feel that with the return of this particular frequency of unity consciousness, it's encouraging us to really group up with people we are in resonance with. We might not have everything in total agreement, but it doesn't matter. As long as we are, you know, as long as we share similar values to be of service to other people and to have fun and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So it's interesting, this vision that I had in 2014 is actually starting to come together when I moved to Peru. Because again, these beings actually, they advised me, they told me in 2016, they said the time for the UK, where I was living previously, they said it's coming to an end for you, and you are being encouraged to relocate to Peru. And they said this is the land that your spirit is very familiar with. You have been there before. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not going there. You know, again, I had a lot of resistance. I was thinking, why am I going to go to Peru, the other side of the planet? And it's funny because when I was a young girl, I was obsessed at maps, looking at maps. I would run my fingers across world maps, and I would imagine that I had friends in every country and continent, and I also like globes as well. I don't know why, but I was just almost obsessed with it. And I used to always kind of point my finger in South America, like, oh, this is like when I was like 9 or 10. So it's funny how things, you know, unfold in our lives. Like little did I know back then that I was living here in Peru and trying to create these new communities.
Wow.
Isn't it interesting? These interests were young and we don't understand what they are, but they're actually some kind of internal guide to source us, lead you eventually to where you're meant to be all a while. So I have that same incident, which is very old. I know I was supposed to shake out. I said, no, it's not the right energies. I kept getting this guidance for why. So eventually, they made it through. Don't get close, honey. Okay. Yeah, once again, we're having trouble with audio. So, Sasha, okay, hold on. I can help Sasha.
I just can't hear her. It's so garbled. I don't know why it's so bad.
It might do.
Okay. Love you. I just want to get me on this. Can be co-creating. We can more than American Church. It's one of our acronyms that's protected by law that we can use Ayahuasca as part of our sacred journey, and we're protected by the United States. Janet, are you back yet?
I'm here. I'm typing to the Honovi, and I can barely hear you. It's like really broken up, and we can barely hear
It's
Honovi.
my internet.
So she can hear me. Okay.
I'm going to drop out the...
It's my
Turn off the camera here. Just share the mic here. How's that? Okay, so he's going to come in the living room here. Okay. Try again.
It's my internet, by the way. It's not y'all.
No problem.
Oh, it's your internet. Bad Peter's internet. Behave. Okay.
That's good. Okay, go ahead. And Sasha's here. Go ahead and speak, Sasha.
Well, I was just saying, that we've all had different kinds of visions, and it makes so much sense. And it's not. You can one person can change the whole morphogenic field, because instantaneously everybody that's ready to feel what has happened feels it, because we're all connected at that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something going on here. We've had some wonderful speakers here this week, Chris Hardy and Caroline Corey. Caroline Corey has a new movie out, E.T. Contact is here. And Chris Hardy, of course, is a researcher. She's written a new book, and she made it in fictional form, but she's getting, like you are getting, these downloads and exchanges with extraterrestrials. And, she thought it'd be great to just explain it by making this very detailed fictional book. But the message is the same no matter how it's coming through, and it's basically reflective on the personality that's perceiving the reality. So if you're getting a negative experience, and people aren't going to want to hear this, but you're on some level, you're creating it. Mm-hmm. But that empowers each person individually and collectively, that there's something you can do about it, and that's fine-tuning your perception and your reactions and your response. I'm summarizing. Is that what you got, sweetheart? Come over here and explain your perspective of what we were getting all week, last 2 weeks.
Basically, once you reach a meditative state, which is beyond the matrix that you're programmed to adhere to, the slavery in which you may have been engaging and imposing upon yourself by conditioning and so forth. Once you get past that, which there's many ways of doing. Kundalini is certainly part of it, and that's what we do in our Tantric community. We actually use sacred ritual as part of our meditation, and if that's combined with the right entheogens, that can be extremely powerful. But basically, and also what I was saying is that we belong to the Aquaba Native American Church, and one of our sacraments here is that we have the legal protection as a church to do ayahuasca or peyote as part of our sacred rituals, and and it all goes to the same. And what's really the difference, and it makes a big difference. There's some people that take the ayahuasca ceremony and they do a little shuffle and they make it in a Catholic ritual. I've been in people that put it into a Sufi ritual. I've been with psychotherapists that let the person track wherever they track and don't try to impose upon them, which of course is the tradition in which I come, which is to support the person in having their own experience. It's so powerful if the medicine is used in a way that's right for the person. And we do usually prepare ourselves by a diet for several days or even a week before we do the ceremony.
Yes, it's interesting.
Go ahead, Honovi.
I was just going to say it's interesting that you talked about these different beings that are attracted to different people. I think it can be quite a complex topic. It's not the answer is not always so straightforward. There's so many things that is happening. For instance, some beings have certain karma to iron out. Some beings have a certain contract. These beings, maybe they belonged to the same civilization in a past life, and they agreed to incarnate as a human and be abducted, and of course they forget all about it. The way I see it is, I try not to look at things as being something good or bad, even though I do struggle with it because the conditioning is so heavy in this physical dimension to look at things as good, bad, right, wrong. And sometimes it serves a purpose to look at things through that lens, and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on what the situation is. But what I learned is even when people are working with the mother, ayahuasca, that some people is having really quite dark, what we might consider dark journeys. And I say to them, it's okay, like whatever the mother is showing you is for your own benefit. It's for your own learning. Whatever is arising is perfect, because It cannot be any other way. And this is also a larger analogy for the world and the times we are living in, because many people, many light workers, they seem to think, at one point in the journey, maybe we have all been there, we think we have come here to, save the world from itself. And, for me, the world does not need saving as such. Everything is unfolding on time. We just need to play our role, because that's what's happening. Each person is playing a role. These denser beings, these denser entities, they are attracted to certain emotional states, such as, feeling powerless or angry or depressed and resentful. And so these are all very fertile ground for an entity, attachment or a psychic attack or this kind of thing. And sometimes in the spiritual circles, we are taught that we shouldn't really, it's not a good idea to kind of delve into the darkness. But many of the world's indigenous cultures, they have a completely different understanding of what the darkness is. They don't see it as something, they don't really see it as something bad necessarily, because they see it as creation coming from the darkness, the womb, of the universe being dark and everything arising from there. And there's actually, you might have heard of them, they're called the Kogi Shaman, and they're from Colombia. I was fortunate enough to meet some of them at a shamanic festival in France, I think back in 2015. And what they do is they select certain people who are going to be priests of that, of their tribe, and they put them in complete darkness from almost the moment that they are born. They have enough light just so that they won't go completely blind or anything, but they're completely in darkness from the day they are born to like coming of age when they're like 16 or 18, between that age. And then they actually come out of this cave, of this darkness where other members have been looking after them, and they're allowed to walk out into the world. And of course, they literally fall to their knees in reverence for the mother, for Gaia, because they've never seen anything like it,
Wow.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's good for us to, again, take on different perspectives. And, I think this is what we're all being encouraged to do. And the modern culture is being encouraged to take on some of the indigenous and Eastern perspectives and things like this. And the Eastern and indigenous cultures are being encouraged to take on some of the modern perspectives so that we can build a holistic picture. Because one of the messages, I've been getting so many messages from these beings, but they actually said to me that they said that they want to see wider representation ethnically at international conferences and communities and things like this. They want to see more women. More women. They say the women is going to have very key integral part to play, and they're really encouraging the woman to come forward and not to doubt herself. And they're basically also saying that a lot of the conferences, they were saying, were overly dominated by the intellect and by the sciences. And they're saying we need more equilibrium. We need to have a seat at the table for everyone, for spirituality, for science, for psychology, for the indigenous people, for the shamanic arts. And as we are doing that, we are creating an alchemy, and we are creating a bigger holistic picture where, everyone's got a piece of the jigsaw. It's not like just one medium is superior to other mediums, right? And I believe in ancient times, that's why these ancient civilizations got further in their consciousness, because they were creating this alchemy that is missing in our modern culture.
Yeah, I would just. Am I coming through now? I'd just like to. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, so it's very cool in the kind of
modern transpersonal psychology, we do exactly what the indigenous people do. Whatever you're considering to be shadow or darkness or not you can come out, especially when you do the Yahe ceremony. And so I remember in one set that we facilitated, one person said he had gone to seminary and quit. I want to experience what he experienced as he had to drag that cross on. And this guy went through utter agony. Somebody else in the very same room said, I want to see all the things I ever avoided seeing. And avoided seeing in my life and in the culture around me. And she got that and so forth. And we went around the room. Everybody got what they asked for. It was amazing. And so you get this is an amazing entheogen. It's taken in the right context with the right end in mind, and you can learn a lot. But it's probably not attractive to tourists. Hey, come down to Peru and puke with us. But it's something else that happens.
Yeah, I really think that the plant teachers, they're phenomenal teachers and guides for all of us in these transformative times that we are living. Of course, there's also a lot of controversy with the plant medicines. Many people are saying, is it cultural appropriation? And, it's a delicate, touchy topic with many different angles that you can come from. But I was actually talking to a friend of mine. As I said to you earlier, I don't know if you heard me, but one of my best friends is a Peruvian shaman. And he's the one that was actually telling me not to share the light language. But it's okay. We kind of made up all that. It's fine now. But he was basically saying that he feels that the Western culture is coming in here and they're taking advantage, And I can totally see his perspective. But I also said to him, brother, I said, the medicines, they don't actually belong to anyone. They don't belong to a specific group of people, just like the sky and the earth don't belong to anyone. They're for all of us. And yes, people are going to abuse the medicines. They're not going to always be in integrity. But there's a lot more people, I believe, who are going to have a transformative awakening or receive some kind of message that's going to, propel them in a new direction. And so for me, if we can use all the tools that we can get to inspire people, then that's the way we should be going. But at the same time, I think there are ways to be also respectful to the indigenous peoples. Like what I noticed a lot was the ceremonies and things that are happening here in the centers. I was saying to my friend, why is there no indigenous people or elders coming to the centers to teach? There's no, cohesion between the Westerners and the indigenous population. And so I said to him, as we are creating the center, I really want to bring that to the forefront. I want it to be an exchange. I want to embody that. I want to have a center where there's many different backgrounds and nationalities and people sharing, because this is the guidance I keep getting, that we are all being encouraged to be more unified and inclusive.
That's beautiful. Right on.
Yes.
What do you think is happening? I've never done ayahuasca. I've done other things, but what do you think is happening when you do that? Is it like opening a portal? Any ideas? Anybody ever study what happens?
Sure, we know what happens is that something that frees you from the imaging of your limbic system and its programming allows you to access your spiritual centers. That's what I think happens.
Yes, I feel what's happening is it's just giving you access to what is always being there. Just like ET contact, it's always been there all throughout the ages, but kind of like there were stories of, I think there were stories of when the Spanish came over with these ships, the indigenous people, some of them were not even able to see these ships because it was not part of their paradigm, and it's similar in our current civilization. People have not been so forthcoming to acknowledge ET contact because it's not been a part of their paradigm. For some people, it's quite shocking because the conditioning goes so deep. And what I feel is happening with the plant medicines is they're just giving us a window and insight to what is already there and what is actually perhaps more true and more real than what we are currently living in this physical dimension.
Right. It's like the doors of perception. It's like the UFO field. It's like the ET field. You actually will see it when you believe it. So when you take these things, what's really there comes through. The block is the illusion, not what's there. What you're seeing after you take the
right. But it actually works the other way around. Believing is seeing. What you believe is what is creating your reality moment to moment. But we have been taught in the modern culture you have to see it to believe it, which has caused some problems, even to the point where I was shown that one time when I had an outer body experience, I was shown that many people in the modern world, because they have been so deeply conditioned, when they are transitioning to the afterlife, they are encountering problems because their beliefs are so rigid. They don't believe in an afterlife maybe, or they don't believe in their guides. So when their guides try to contact them, they can't even hear them. They can't even see them. Some people are getting trapped on these lower vibrational planes. And it's not like it's like some major problem at the end of the world, but, I don't think there's too big of a problem that cannot be resolved. There's always assistance on hand. But it is interesting that people's beliefs can really become limitations, or their beliefs can be cultivated in a way to become more free and liberated.
Right. There's a series of books by the Dr. Michael Newton Institute where they've hypnotized about 40,000 people around the globe with the many different facilitators to their state of life between lives and what happens when you exit your body. And it's exactly what you said, that if your beliefs will affect what you're going to see. Mm-hmm. And your guides there, everybody has a guide, a personal guide, and we have a system of support when we pass over. We have a committee, and we have almost like a group support system of 20 to 30 people. But they're trying to reach you, and if you have your strong beliefs, they can't get you to see them. They're right there, even when you're out of body, so that's why people get trapped. But like you said, it's nothing to fear because it eventually passes, and time is just an illusion of this third-dimensional physical reality. But some people do get stuck, and so people like yourself and myself and other people, I can access the discarnates, the people that are deceased and they're out of body, and I've actually helped some people. It's not my full-time job. I don't volunteer for it, but sometimes, out of necessity, they're here and they're bugging me, and it's like, okay, let's help you go on, because otherwise they're trapped, and they do, a haunting. They will haunt and scare people, and I sometimes have guests, and they haunt people. So yes, I've had to go on to the other side.
In fact, I would say that that many people are serving as assistants in the dream time. And for anyone who is listening, who is particularly sensitive or connected to other dimensions and realities, it's quite likely that you're doing retrieval work. I have many dreams where I meet beings. Sometimes I become lucid and sometimes I don't, where they tell me how they died. It's often children. I think what happens is the abilities and gifts that we have in our physical dimension are also used in these subtler dimensions too. So if you have the gift of being a teacher, you work with children. I love children a lot. They're like my wisest teachers. And so I've worked with young children who were affected by domestic violence when I was living in the UK. And a lot of my dreams involve children. And so I've had dreams where kids have been in accidents and stuff, and I'd kind of take them by the hand and, we go somewhere nicer, and they might be a little bit upset at first, crying, and then, they calm down or something like that. There's all kinds of things like that happening. It's pretty mind-blowing. It's amazing how, even during sleep, we are all serving each other in some shape or some form.
Way cool. Even if you're listening now, you can even just imagine that you're going to some appropriate place to meet your guide and let your guide come to you. It could happen in an instant in any form that's right for you, and whatever questions in your mind, the guide will give you something to reflect upon or say something or convey a thought.
Yes, a lot of it has to do with self-trust.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're at the end of the show. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you.
Thank you.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country was founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Oh, Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said.